as we process through. You got a game this week you stoked to watch?
Um, Not anything in particular, just the Cardinals game. I'm kind of nervous about that game, man.
I was going to bring this up to you. And hello and welcome, folks. We're here on the Hawks Nest with Dmack. Told you guys we'd be doing a couple of these shows during the week, and we deliver. But we're just discussing, I think both of us, it's funny, I didn't even talk to you about this. We were doing a little of our pre-show talk, but we were very, very confident early on this week in this game coming up against the Cardinals. Felt good. We were like, well, Snacks Harrison's coming in. We're getting Jamal Adams back. Reinforcements are on the way. They're going to arrive. Snacks isn't going to play. A little bit still too probably thick, wide in the britches to get out there. So he's getting another week of conditioning, and now you got no Jamal Adams as well. What do you think, D? Do you still have this as a 2-touchdown game?
I still think we're gonna win it by 10 points, but I don't know. I'm just nervous about it, man. Because as much as you can prepare for a team, it's nothing like actually getting out there on the field. And I think Kyler just surprises a lot of defenses with his speed, and he's on film is one thing, but to see it like live, he might take us by surprise. They might underestimate his throwing ability and his speed and quickness.
It's the part that's jumped out most to me in his game this year is that when I watch him play, I don't see him taking a huge leap forward as far as how he breaks down defenses, or he's doing some looking off his safety really well to clear something up deep over the side. Just some more of the nuanced stuff that you would maybe think you're going to see with it. It's not been that as much. He was a good player last year, so he's maintained still being, I think, a good player. The thing that he's really changed is he's become the Lamar Miller type runner. Pete Carroll pointed to it in some of his, in some of his pressers. Just this guy's really committed to running. He's getting out there 11 yards a carry, I think, is what he's averaging as a runner. It just when he's putting up that kind of production, he's being that much of a threat to the backfield, and he's really going for it. He's hard to deal with because they said he was a 4.3-ish. I don't think he ran at the combine. That they said if he would have run, he would have been a 4.3-ish type guy, or he did run in the 4.3 at his pro day. I can't remember on that one, but he's got me worried. I had this up as a 2-touchdown game around on Monday. I felt pretty good about that. I thought, okay, feeling solid. This is where we are. But I got to be honest with you, D-Mac. I'm under 7 points at this point. Learning there's no Jamal. Learning there's no Snacks. I still think that we're a tough matchup for them. I still think we win it. But this Murray thing has got me just a hairpin nervous, man. You know what I mean? Just a little. I don't know. He can be a difference maker out there when he's rolling around. I just come back to it. He's a problem as far as a quarterback in this league. But in OCC, I saw you in there use their hit stick. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, well, I was saying there was a couple things that happened in the off season this year, and a lot of moves have transpired since the last time we actually went live. Wanted to talk about Baltimore a little bit, and I know, let's see what's going on. So Baltimore has made some offseason acquisitions. We've got Calais Campbell for a 5th round pick, and then we've got a franchise tag on Matt Judon. We got signing Michael Brockers, and when they failed to provide a medical on Michael, they went and solidified their defense with Derek Wolfe. You got Justin that they drafted in the 3rd round, and you've got
Matt
a trade. Right. And then you got, his name is tough. Then they traded for a 3rd round pick for Yannick Ngakoue, which they're only paying $3 million of his salary, and the rest is being offset from the Vikings. So talk a little bit about that acquisition from Baltimore. They made a lot of moves.
There's a lot of jealousy here on my part, and I'm going to say just shout out OCC. What's up, user Hitstick? Hello, pull the shooter. How you doing? You're getting that little bit of a worry feeling as well. Yeah, we're seeing a little trepidation going into this one, aren't we? What's up, Jeff Rhines? DMAC really touches on a place that is interesting to me with watching the Baltimore Ravens. Just a couple of years ago, they were watching Ray Lewis retire, Lodi Nada get a little older. And then, of course, finally last year, I think it was they lost Terrell Suggs, that last little piece to their Super Bowl winning team, along with that few years before that. This is a defense that was not the same of its perennial defenses. And then this last offseason, or let's call it not offseason, the last year period, right? Not just the mentioned year you made, but even go back to the Marcus Peters trade midseason when the Rams were basically ready to offload him for a bag of peanuts. And they picked him up and he turned into a guy I think who had more interceptions last year than anybody else in the NFL. He's a pick six waiting to happen. He's not a perfect cornerback, but he's a guy that fits perfectly for their gambling scheme in general. But they go into with the moves Dmack mentions, they go into all that. I mean, the Michael Brockers thing to me was as amazing as anything they did with Calais Campbell, where you bring in a guy, Michael Brockers, one tech signed to a contract, fails his physical. Most teams would be like scrambling. What are we going to do now? Derek Wolfe, still a very solid player, probably somewhat of a similar player. They're able to then bring right back in and not miss a beat with them. They've been so smart from a personnel decision standpoint, how they go about it. You mentioned this case, they're only spending $3 million on him for his franchise tag season. And this is over half a year worth of time they get to use him. And, right. And Yannick's got 5 sacks to start the season. He's going to be productive there. He's going to be really, really good there. I just look in jealousy a little bit. I'm not a jealous man in my heart, Dmack. I don't tend to go that way. You know, I'm just like, let her go. If she flies away, she'll fly back and then she's mine or something.
Right.
But in this case, I am. Because I look at Seattle and they still do not do anything. They still stand pat. We still hear no rumors. This whole Antonio Brown thing, for as nice as it was to at least get some kind of rumor of an addition coming back onto the team, we had a lot of fence sitters in Seahawks Nation as far as Antonio goes. A lot of people didn't like what he's going to bring to the locker room. And then, you know, you're still going, well, yeah, but what about the pass rush? And we'll definitely dump into Antonio Brown on this. But this is something with Seattle I'd like to see them do, where you know, I mentioned at the start of last offseason, go after the defensive line, man. How about you? I mean, do you think they've done enough? I think we talked a little bit about this, and you feel, I think, a little more confident where our defensive line is at. Maybe feeling the young guys come back later on.
I'm not per se confident on where we're at. It's just kind of like if there's not much out there. I know we could have, you know, done more. I think they had a lot invested in this AB situation, so it's kind of hard to, you know, when you talk about adding another defensive lineman to our roster, it's hard to kind of like focus in on these guys and being in trade talks with all these different teams when your main focus, it sounded like up until this point, was AB. So I think that was just a cookie that just had to crumble of, you know, going after AB. And then once that fell through, now it's back to the drawing board. But I definitely think they're trying. I don't think they're just sitting back saying, hey, we're fine, we're good, we're, you know, everything like that. But, you know, I think you just gotta put things in priority, and priority in their opinion was AB. Up until this point.
Yeah, it did seem it had to be a little bit of a gut punch to them today when these reports broke after seemingly this long dance between Antonio and Seattle that's been going on for like 6 months now, with the offseason videos of Russell and Gino, and they're getting closer and closer and closer, and now they're about to touch. And then he scorns them for another lover. You know, goes back down to Tampa Bay. It's got to hurt them, because I think they were setting that groundwork to bring him in and sign him. And then I think to have that rug pulled out, I think a little bit otherwise, because I think they were the team that leaked out that he was the main guy on that. You know,
I actually don't think they were the team that leaked it out. I think the agent or whoever's working with AB leaked it out to put pressure on Tampa, because that's where he really wanted to go originally with Tom Brady. So I think it was another source that leaked it. I think Seattle was trying to keep it under the covers.
So you think AB's that's the thing I'd be interested with this, because what I've landed as well on this is thinking that Tampa Bay may have a little bit more cap space they can offer him to AB. And I think with Seattle, you're going to come in on near a minimum deal for the rest of the year. And then I could easily see this being a money thing that decided this, as opposed to wanting to play with Tom or wanting to play with Russell.
You know what's crazy is I've been following this whole AB saga, and I should have known, because I've watched his Instagram closely, and he kind of hinted towards Tampa Bay already. He's always like flirted with the idea of Tampa Bay, and you know, one time he held up like a jersey of Tampa with like a no name on the back of it. Like, he was just really, really, really like hinting towards Tampa Bay. And I don't know why it didn't split my mind to put Tampa Bay in that running, but yeah, I mean, he really, really, really has a connection with Tom Brady, and that's where he wants to play at the end of the day. They both have like a man crush on each other, so to speak, and they just want to end their careers together, I guess it looks like.
We'll see how it goes there. I certainly like the fit here with him and Russell, because I thought Russell had a lot of the same stuff that Ben Roethlisberger did as far as breaking off the play and going deep, and that working really well with Brown, as opposed to Tom wants everything on time. Can't argue with the one drive he was in, I think, against last year with the Patriots. I think Tom threw like 6 passes to him on the first drive, caught them all, I think, for a touchdown at the end. So it does make them more difficult to deal with. And Tampa Bay just gets that much tougher as one of those teams that,
the rich gets richer.
The rich get richer, man. The rich get richer. All right, let's get to the chat here just a little bit. What's up, Jeff Rhines? We're doing awesome over here. John Lennon asked if he could join the chat Zoom. Maybe at some point here we'll do a Zoom meeting with everybody. Let's just make it a total cluster. Just bring everybody in, see what happens.
Zoom party.
So I'm working on a phone line, a call-in line. I don't know if I'm gonna do a Discord or through something like Google Voice, but that's the next thing I'd like to work on here for the chat. So that is in the works, folks, to some degree. Carl says, yo, I can't wait to see Stephen Sullivan rushing Jimmy next week. Dmack, did you hear about the Stephen Sullivan news where they took this kid's the 6'6" kid out of LSU last year, longest arms in the draft, couldn't get on as a receiver or a tight end on the LSU team because stacked wide receivers and Thaddeus Moss, tight end, was the starter. And so kind of just one of those freakish guys that never found the field. And so now Seattle's, they're so desperate for a pass rusher right now that they're putting this kid over on as defensive end. They're trying to have him rushing the passer now mid-season, no training camp.
Sounds like something.
So somebody's wondering how he's going to do on that. Yeah, not gonna. I would be highly if Steven can't get it done at tight end or receiver on this team, he is not getting it done at defensive end. He's freakish, maybe he's just that naturally gifted. But when I saw that, I know he's got the long arms. So those long arm guys have a hard time getting the muscle on, right? And you get those little short guys with the short arms, and they can just look stacked. But you get the long arm guys, it's hard because that muscle is so long around. He's kind of looks like that, but I couldn't imagine him having enough strength to get anything done there as a defensive end.
So right now, I just want to say, Jeff Rhines, thanks for the $5 dono. Aaron Sanders, thanks for the dono.
You got Aaron Sanders, my boy Aaron.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Hey, appreciate the donations, Jeff and Aaron. I've got to call you, my man. Thank you for the donation. I've been meaning I owe you a call here at some point. He says, keep crushing it, guys. Love all the content with our Hawks. Hey, man, thank you so much. I wanted to get you guys some more of these shows here during the week, and Dmack was nice enough here to open up to me on letting me do this kind of weekly thing with him a little bit. It gives me just a chance to interact with you guys just a little bit more, Mm-hmm. What's up, Jose Rodriguez, my mod? How you doing? Killing with your vids lately?
What's going on, Jose?
Y2K says he can't hang out tonight for more than 10 minutes. Always appreciate the content, though. No worries, Y2K. We just do these off the slides, so we know that people will be kind of in and out. That's why I want to do a lot of them. So if you can't get on one, then you get on the other, and if you can't get on the other, you get on the other. That's how it works. John Lennon says Neal is a beast. Let's go, Ryan Neal. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. He's a good player, and it does sound like the coaching staff. They're going to find a rule. We talked about it. It does seem like they're committed to finding some kind of role for him when he comes back in. I'd love to believe it's like middle linebacker, which I think would be so inventive. DMAC don't you? Is if you've got middle linebacker and Bobby, it's in, let's say, a dime formation or even a nickel formation where it's going to be a pass. If you have a guy that's in there that's the safety, be it a Jamal Adams, be it a Ryan Neal now playing into that linebacker role while you still have the other strong safety out on the football field, what's the loss at that point to the defense? Because if they're in a 3rd and 9, they're not going to run a draw up the middle probably. And if you kind of you challenge them to do it at that point if they're going to do it. But and God bless Bobby, I love him to death. But if I'm going to have a guy playing middle linebacker there knowing he's only going to be really playing coverage or blitzing, wouldn't a guy like Jamal Adams be the better guy? And I know Bobby's a good blitzer up the middle to a degree. It gets a little overstated sometimes. But is there really a downside at that point? I mean,
I like the way that you're thinking as far as just putting different personnel in that middle linebacker spot. It has a flexibility to not, be narrow-minded when it comes to the call that you can play. So he can drop in coverage better. He can probably pass, or spy, Kyler Murray a lot better than Bobby Wagner. So I like it. I like the idea.
There we go. We're getting to the era now where linebacker. It used to be you might get a defensive lineman off of a zone blitz would drop back and spy the quarterback. And then they went, these quarterbacks getting too fast for that. Can't do that. So now we got to go to linebacker. Maybe now we're finally getting to the point where it's beyond a linebacker being able to do that, and it's got to be done with a legitimate safety type player. That's the only way I'd be more happy. I don't want Ugo Amadi off the board for this kid. I really don't see how you're going to move off a guy like KJ Wright the season he's having for it. Though again, I'd maybe be open to that too because of the same reasoning where it's, this guy's fast enough to get up in those seam routes, fast enough to get to the sidelines on some of those corner routes that we see sometimes our linebackers don't get the depth on they need. Okay, I can see it from that, but just don't remove the few guys on the defense that are actually, getting it done this year. That'd be my only thing with it. Joe F says, "Can we do Zoom, please?" We got some Zoom requests, Joe. I'll talk it over with Dmack. We'll do a call where we get a couple of you guys in there. So I will.
Yeah.
Let me think about how we pull it off. But yes, Joe, we can definitely do that. Side note, if you haven't watched the John Ryan for MVP YouTube video, I highly suggest it. I'll check that one out, Y2K. Carl says, just so you know, I'm sitting Murray on my start and starting Justin Herbert as starting Seattle D. So that's how much faith I got. Wow. Carl's feeling strong with it. Carl's feeling strong with it. I think me and Dmack are still feeling like it is a win, but man, I feel a little bit better about this game with Jamal. I feel a little bit better about this game. I got even a guy like Jordan Brooks, who I'm not even high on, but for this particular game, him as a spy on, I mean, that would be, perfect if you put something like that with his speed, because I saw it in college. He was able to stay with Kyler in college in the time he played with him in that kind of role as a spy back there. But I think it's going to be close this week, DMAC, and we're going to have another shootout. It's another.
I'm just nervous because we undefeated. Like, it's just always one of them things. It's like when you're perfect, you always just got a little, butterflies.
You do, and then too, it's like, not that they've been great, but it's that you've had so many of these miracle win finishes, and you just that's to me what it is. It's just that we know we're in for another one this week. We know we're in like primetime game. They're going to be milking every last commercial they can, right? Like any drama that happens at the end, it's like, okay, we'll be back in 3 minutes.
Let's talk about that, because it's crazy. They switched the schedule up, so they put us primetime and took Oakland out of the ranks with the primetime game. That was something.
This speaks to what I've talked to you about. We've talked about. No other teams play as many of the type of games we play in the entertainment value. This is not me speaking as a homer to how great and beautiful and lovely my team is. It is. I mean, I do feel that way. But this particular point is just how I'd sometimes like just some nice, good, clean, boring games where we just beat the hell out of somebody and I can just sit back and go like this, Like even the Atlanta game, we couldn't quite get to that point. We started getting to that point. We're like, oh, opening week, here we go. Oh,
back on my toes.
So this is where, I think we're in for another one this week, DMAC. I think it's prime time. It's going to be another one of those, just like everybody's selling out, playing for the no tomorrow type thing. And it's just going to be right again, down probably to the wire. I mean, we gotta just, I guess, learn to get comfortable with it. Y2K says he just put his weed in the washer. That's tough, man. That's tough. Brooks is ready, says Carl. That would be good. Carl asks if I think Snacks regrets going to the Bucks. No, I think Snacks has a close relationship with a guy like Quandre Diggs, as I can speak to me and DMAC playing our mini video game nights. You would not leave a video game brother on the football field. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna. If I got to make a choice and all the money's down basically the same, which it probably was, I'm gonna stay in my lane on that one. My man Snacks says Discord bad. Yeah, I'll probably do like a Google Voice. My man Snacks. Joey Mendez says we need to focus on the defensive line and shoring up the D. Well, I'm in agreement with you. DMAC, I think, feels a little bit better. Like to see maybe something. I'd like to see something major. I saw today one article I read that Quinn Williams of the New York Jets picked top 10 last year. Defensive tackle had comparisons to Warren Sapp coming out. That's why he was drafted as high as he was. I got to say, like, if he's out there for a second round pick right now, there might be a chance that I'm willing to maybe potentially pull that trigger. I'd like to see a big move made or a couple of small moves made rather than just trying.
I don't know why I'm so optimistic about what we got. I guess because we 5-0. It's like, I mean, we can't be that well off. I mean, I don't know.
Well, and we
could be in worse positions like Dallas.
I mean, that's the bottom line with it, is that you can go back to it, and you're not wrong saying, look, we're 5-0 where we're at. Like, you can hand wring and be annoyed by this, but you are undefeated. There's not many undefeated teams in the NFL. You're the only one in the NFC.
I'd rather have this than trade for Dallas situation where they got all the talent and can't put it together. You know what I mean? And they're just like, so that's kind of why I'm optimistic.
It is, and that's where we always got to remember we're in a good position. We got a good team. This is a fun spot to be in. Absolutely. It's just the hope that if you I think, and maybe this is to Joey's point, I don't want to speak for you, Joey. It's just that you get a couple. It's the shore. I like his word, shoring up. You're shoring up. You're at this point just kind of getting a couple of those things in there because you don't know. It's between Rasheem Green and Darrell Taylor. You don't know what you're getting from these guys as we go through the rest part of the year. Neither of them have played a snap or at least barely any snaps this year so far. And so relying on them for production as we move on to this year, especially a Super Bowl run, hard to see, tough to see. And I'm hesitant on that respect. Yo, Aaron. Thank you for that donation, by the way, Aaron.
Yeah, appreciate it. He says, I don't know the name, so I'm just call you E.
Eltheria?
Right. Now that the train wreck is over, let's deal with the defense. Okay. And she says, Will Disley was a defensive tackle, and the Huskies converted him to a tight end after a couple years. You never know.
Oh, and I think she's talking about Steven Sullivan. Sullivan just got converted over defensive. And look, it's you didn't put a high draft pick on Sullivan, a 7th-round pick. Those are flyer guys that barely make the roster anyway. You can afford to play with those guys and try to move them around. J.R. Sweezy, former, I think, 6th, 7th-round pick himself. They moved him from defensive tackle, as you're kind of mentioning, as they've done in the past, to offensive lineman to guard. So, yeah, it could maybe work with Sullivan over there on that side. I think the thing that maybe just makes you frown a little bit as a fan is you had a lot of hope for Sullivan with that build, that 6'6" frame, those long arms. I think he jumped over 35 inches vertically. You start going, you put those measurables together. I mean, longest arms in the draft of any player, like 36, like his fingers drag on the ground when he walks, that long, just standing straight. So yeah, we could see with that. It could maybe work. I'm still going to be skeptical.
We got Space saying, hey, what's going on? Hope everything is going well. Likewise. Then we got Keep Up the Good Work from Space. Appreciate it. Randall McDaniel's in the house. What the
Aaron said, keep up the good work. Props, Aaron. I'll be calling you soon.
Oh, yeah. Randall McDaniel with the dono, the $20 dono. That's huge.
Dude, Randall's always coming in with
always.
I told you, man. He's always. We got to get a special
we got to get him
for Randall on his.
Yeah, we got to get him some.
Gotta be something like nice,
some merch or something.
Yeah, Randall, I'm gonna get you off. Randall, I want to get you my cup off to you. So just send. I'm still working on the final cup design that I want to do, but I want to get you one off. So send me your address over on Facebook.
First on the list for
hit me up over there with that, so I can get you that, because you'll dig it the most. But I appreciate it, man. Thank you for that $20 donation. Sebastian Heineman says Jamal Adams ain't playing this game. Yep, Sebastian, and that's what's giving me a little reticence on my prediction and making me wonder. That combined with no snacks, I don't know. I'm a little more. And
that's probably why I was so optimistic too, though. Like, because I thought Jamal would definitely be ready by now. Like, and I'm just like, he ain't ready. All the signs are just, and I don't know, man.
They put it out there, man. They were putting it, the smoke was out there like this was going to go fine. And then I always wondered with it, though, is when it first happened, I said, 4 to 6 weeker, because it's just, they're just weird like that, those groins. They can have a last little twinge left up in there, and it's just like, well, it's still just a little, And
it's major too, though. Like, I mean, if you can't, like, spread your legs to stretch, how are you going to run and keep up with a 4-3, 4-4 guy out there? Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's one of those injuries that's got to be all the way right before you get out there. If it's not, and somebody this side, so like Tarkius McKinley, a lot of people are mentioning it for the Atlanta Falcons as a potential trade target. This is what happened to him. He pulled his groin early on, I think the first game of the season, then tried to come back after 2 games, and then fully like, I don't think he tore it, but he fully pulled that thing all the way out. Now, like it like one of those Looney Tunes things, Segerius, there it is. A loss is coming at some point. I'm hoping it's against the Bills rather than in the division. Yep, I think it's coming at some point. Boy, the Bills look a little bit worse, though, don't they, Dmack? I mean, they got. Yeah, I don't think they got exposed, but
I think they got exposed.
Oh,
for sure.
Really?
I'm off the bandwagon for them to be like going to the playoffs and doing anything, making any noise this year.
Yeah, the tough part seems to be their defense doesn't seem to be quite as strong as
the defense is not who we thought they were.
Yeah. Let him off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that whatever you said. Cameron Hughes, I would put 2 spies on Murray, laughing out loud. Same with Jackson. Murray is so damn elusive, you can't let him get out into the open field. I'd like to see what Jordan Brooks would look like out of the will in a spy role. He's the will linebacker. He's back off the ball. You tell him on knowing passing down, especially with the Cardinals, because they run a lot of spread formations with the four wide receiver look. 3 wide receivers. So, okay, just have him watching and just mirroring him the whole way. And he's supposed to have the speed. This is why we drafted this guy. If he's out on the field and he can make it, that's what you're supposed to do, is have the speed to be able to catch up on the guy like this. I mean, they literally saw a tape of him in college tracking down Kyler Murray in a spy role. So he'd make me feel a lot better if he is out there and ready to roll. You definitely can't put 2 spies on on a quarterback, though. That's leaving too much open, right? And that's not that's
They'll pick that apart.
Yeah. Joey Mendez says Seahawks are must-see TV. I'd agree with that one. Yeah, that's why we're going to primetime, baby. That's why we're on primetime, is that they're not going to put us out there if we're not drawing eyes, if we're not bringing in ratings. I think they said it was kind of not a great thing, Dmack, but they said that I think we doubled the ratings of Game 6 of the NBA Finals.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if that's a good stat or a bad stat for you.
Right.
Keith Goodsell says Cards game is going to be tough. Hopefully Jamal Adams and Bobby G can fire up the defense. Keith, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, even though you do say go Hawks, and I always tell you guys don't forget that. You don't. Jamal's not playing this week, my guy. Jamal's no playing, so hopefully Bobby G. Who's Bobby G? Bobby W. Anthony Bain with a man. Everybody's coming in with a $5.
Bain. No, but Anthony Bain has two donos. He's got a $5 and a $10. So.
Oh man, you get the double salute, Anthony. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, man. He says AB to the Bucks. Was this even allowed? Jeez. Russ probably hella mad. I'm hella mad. Start Kyler in fantasy. This wouldn't be a bad week to start Kyler. I'd have a feeling in fantasy this week. We might throw a couple interceptions. Don't be surprised if he throws a few picks in this game. But I think, to me, I wanted to hear what you guys say on this one, Dmack. But to me, if I'm actually a consultant today, be in this situation, I would tell him that Russell Wilson is far and away, and the Seahawks are far and away the better place for you to be going in this situation as opposed to Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay has a lot of mouths to feed, and Bruce Arians, for AB, it probably is good for him, and being in Bruce Arians' offense, but there's a lot of mouths to feed, and I don't know if he can keep AB satisfied with 3 to 4 catches a game. I don't know. And like I said, but the only thing that I like about it is Tom Brady's in that locker room, and Tom Brady is probably the only quarterback other than Russell Wilson that can keep a guy like AB tamed, kind of.
And my reticence to think the move works as good as for us as it would if you went to us is not anything to do with that too. I agree with you 100% in that Antonio's not, I don't think, going to be a problem in the locker room. I think Tom can hold him there. They know they can cut him at any time, et cetera, et cetera. The thing with me, though, is that I don't know if anymore Tom can operate in a high volume passing attack anymore, especially as we get into November and December. Basically. Yeah. And as he's got to throw into the weather elements, and they're under this pressure for the reasons you just mentioned, for the mouths to feed, and he's under the pressure to throw as to go to more of the running game at times. And so now he's trying to throw 4, 5, 6, 7 times a little bit more over the course of a game than he probably should be at this time of his career. Right. And that becomes where it's those, I've mentioned to you the out routes to me are essentially the biggest disconcerting thing to me with him right now, is that used to be his money throw is 7 yards into the sticks, 9 yards to the sticks, and he could put it on a line. He could place it exact. He's lost some RPMs on that ball. That's going to be just what he's wanting Antonio to run a lot of times, especially out of the slot. I don't know. That has me hesitant, man. What do you think? You think he can throw 45 times a game?
I just like it from the standpoint that they already have previous rapport and they've already worked with each other. And so from that standpoint, I like it. Tom is one of those quarterbacks that he just has to know where you're going to be, and he has to know that you see what he sees. And so from that standpoint of them being on the same page, the chemistry and everything else, they'll be fine. And like I said, Tom Brady, I don't think his arm is that terrible, but I don't know how long it's going to hold up if he can play a full season and go into the playoffs and still be that same guy slinging it all around the place with all those wide receivers. So it's yet to be seen. Hopefully he's done a lot of therapy and spent a lot of millions of dollars on his body, because I don't know.
I'll tell you this, if he pulls it off, I don't know any quarterback, Russell included at that point, if he pulls off, wins another Super Bowl doing it this way with that, how anybody's going to get close to ever touching him, at that point.
It'd be no debate. It'd be no debate.
It'd be no debate. It's what are you going to say at that point? What do you say? Is the Steven Sullivan move another Jamison Cons move, or is it possible he actually gets some snaps at defensive end? All right. Well, Dmack, you answer this one. Kid hasn't played defensive end since high school. and he was a tight end / receiver to tight end receiver type bounce back guy on LSU's roster.
I mean, if it's any team that can get a guy out of a position and plug him somewhere, it'd probably be Seattle. Like I said, the coaches obviously see something in him. And if he can just do anything and create any havoc, and I think him having that long wingspan is going to create a lot of havoc for Kyler Murray, because he already can't see over the line anyway. So he's got to roll the pocket and do different things to just see over the line and be able to get clean passing lanes. So, I mean, if he can do anything just to get into the the throwing lanes and stuff like that, bat balls down, things like that, we'll definitely take it.
We will. And it's probably an indication we won't see anything with him on the field this year. It's probably not until he gets an off season to work at that position that you really bulk up and all the things you got to do as a deal. And John Lennon, we'll work on the Zoom thing, I promise, John. So not this time right now live on the go, but we'll try to look at maybe find a way to add a couple people here and there as we can. We'll see how it goes as we move through here.
Yeah.
So Jerry says Sullivan is built like a Leo, from my understanding. Well, yeah, he's got the length and explosiveness. I mean, from that, they look for the certain metrics of performance as far as those drills go with the Leos, and he would certainly have it in that respect. Just, man, since high school, since he's done it.
Randall McDaniel saying, you think Snyder moves anyone for picks, A. Barton or anyone just for a 6 or a 7 to get ready for the 21 draft?
Could make sense if they wanted to bail on a guy like Barton. Barton's a decent suggestion where it's a guy's 3rd round pick that they maybe know what they need to know on him at this point, whether it's enough or not. But maybe still has some value throughout the league to where you could offload him for something else. You'd certainly like to package in a couple of guys like that in a Hollister, and then maybe you can come a little lower with the draft compensation, but still get the good player. I mentioned the Quinn Williams at the 2nd round rate, but what if you get him into the 4th round, but then you're also throwing in some useful young players on cheap deals that you can potentially, Rashad Penny, to New York. They just lost Le'Veon Bell. They need a running back there. They'd have I think they'd have still Penny for 2 years, or at least the 5th year option available to him after this offseason. So you got a good young running back. Maybe then they feel like that they could utilize in that way too. If you could do something like that, that'd be the creative approach to it. Do I see them offloading guys just for draft capital? No, I don't think that they're going to eat into the depth of their team at this point. For the future.
You got to remember, Seattle loves their draft pick, especially the late pick.
I know.
Those things are precious.
I would tend to think that what they'll probably do is they probably are going to trade back in this draft. Probably that 2nd round pick's one that they'll trade back to the 3rd round and then try to collect another and then
pick up another pick or something.
To me, that's probably more of which way I think they would go. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see, but it's there are some guys they've got that I think they get a little bit of compensation for one way or another, however they package that compensation. Keith, yes, the Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is going to have to show out this week. He doesn't have a lot of help there back in this week with no Jamal. They're going to probably be doing a lot of that cover 2 look, Dmack, because you got the spread. So you got a spread formation quarterback, right? You normally want to play the single high safety with the cover 3, but they've got a lot of receiving targets out there across the field that can get deep. Even the Danny and Isabella kid, the slot kid, can get deep out of the slot. So running that single high safety, can't see him doing it as much, which puts him more into that protective defense where we see less blitzing, more cover 2 looks out there, and then just soft zones.
Everything that Arizona does to win is it plays into our hands on what we do as a defense. I'm telling you, that's why I'm so confident in the 10-point spread, is because they rely on just really just getting you out of position and capitalizing on big plays. Kyler Murray beat Dallas with 9 catches. 9 completions. You're not going to beat Seattle with 9 completions. You literally have to methodically just get guys the balls and move the ball. You're not going to be able to beat them with 50 yarders, 60 yarders down the field. And so that plays into our hands. And don't let Kyler Murray turn the ball over or do anything or be, any shell of himself that he was last week. So, like I said, I take our quarterback over theirs in a duel.
Oh, yeah, I would absolutely. And even in Kyler's upside, if you put me in Kyler Murray at year 8, I'm still taking Russell right now. I don't think Kyler's top side is going to get to what Russell is. I don't think he has the touch on the football. I don't think he has the accuracy on the football. He might be faster. He might even throw a harder ball on 20, 25 yard throws. But at the end of the day, I think he's not going to ever really be anywhere near where Russell is at. Just my opinion. I don't know. Pete says Brooks is 100%. Green is 95, and I think Randall will kill it. Demarius Randall, I guess, is what you're saying on that one, Carl. Remind me of that Randall. I think it's Demarius. But yeah, that's great. We need Brooks in this game. We need Barton last week. Me and Dee talked about it earlier in this show earlier this week that Barton's not. He's getting the tackle numbers. Dmack. It's one of those things. Those linebackers, they get 12 or 13 tackles, and instantly everything else gets ignored. Right? Like
right.
he could have missed 4 tackles in the game. He could be catching everything downfield. He could be coming in just to pile on, get his cheap extra assist tackle on the play. But like. Somebody online called it the empty 13 tackles, and it kind of is. He had a play here and there where he looks good, but there's a lot of times where teams are attacking him in the run game. They're going to continue to attack him in the run game, and he's going to get exposed, because he just does not play with some of that. I'm going to call it ferociousness that you need to have as a linebacker.
How many of those tackles were like after the fucking like they gained the first down or something like that? So like I like to see tackles for losses, like you know what I mean? Like those are meaningful like plays. So I know exactly what you mean by empty 13 tackles.
He's a second-year guy. At this point, I expect you as a linebacker in this scheme that's very simplistic and asks you to have basic gap control as a linebacker. You got the linebacker can literally be responsible for the A gap, and then the outside linebackers their B gap to this side, and then this guy. Like it gets very simple in their scheme and what they're asking in the run game. And if you miss your fit, it's very obvious because of that, because it's not so complicated and there's not a lot of moving parts going on. So. We need Brooks in this game. I'd feel way better about this game right now if we had Brooks, and that's saying something because I'm not hugely on Brooks, but I think he can spy Kyler. If there's one thing he can do, I think it's that. He's very fast dude on tape. I'm behind on the chat here.
So we got John Lennon. He's saying no. Will Disley started off as a defensive lineman for the Huskies and then played 2 years as a defensive lineman, then they converted him to tight end. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Got that one. Played for the 2 years tight end. Yeah, the position switches in college and late in college, and Dmack can speak to this if he saw it in his time on the teams he played for. It is a lot more likely that it doesn't work than it does work. Players tend to get picked back into high school. Those high school coaches aren't complete morons or something. Not all of them. There's probably a few out there, but there's some of them that are good ball coaches and correctly evaluate where a player's best position is at. Now, that may be a position where he does not eventually excel to become a star or a great player, but they yet will have that understanding of this. If he's going to succeed, I feel like the Southern coach, watching ball back. He's going to succeed now. He's going to have to go up that free safety role, but if he don't go up the free safety role, he's going to fail. He's going to fail bad. It's like it's kind of that thought process where it's like, and he's right, and that kind of old is actually correct in that guy should be a free safety in that spot, not the cornerback, but the free safety, and he's got to read it. I've been watching these boys for 45 years. I know where to put him. You know what I mean? And so I feel a little like, and so when you get them to now late into college where they switch in positions, it can work, but it's more often than not going to not, because there's been a lot of intelligent football minds that have already had their chance to pick where the guy's going to go.
Oh, for sure. I've seen a lot of that in college. Just want to put, like I said, I told you, like these teams and coaches, they just want to put the best talent on the field. I've seen undersized like defensive ends all through college and things like that, just because they got speed or they have great hands, feet work, things like that. But they're not real like pro ready D ends. They just what they are for college.
Yeah, exactly. And it's in college. It just sometimes guys have a top end, right? Sometimes hit their top end in college. That's what they are. They're not gonna. They may have tools. They may have NFL stuff that they can. He runs a 4.5 40 or what, but he has no instincts. He's not got any leverage ability.
Or he's undersized and doesn't have the strength to keep up in the next level and things like that. So, in college is cool because these guys they're kids out there, like.
Yeah. Oh, it's you can take advantage. You get some undersized guys out there probably shouldn't be playing on the field at times. Randall says Sullivan has all the measurables and speed, but he didn't do the bench, so maybe a bit scary for a defensive end. Yeah, and if you go look at his arms, and some of it is I don't want to be too hard on him because, again, I know those long arm guys, it's harder for them to look jacked up, but he looked like he had really thin arms when I was looking up on him draft day and trying to find some film on him. It was like he was a very like string bean kind of guy, Space says you got to have snacks. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just reading the chat too.
Anthony Bain, $10 donation. Man, people are coming in with the chat. Dmack, can I get a
appreciate it, Anthony?
Can I get one little hit? Just give me one little hit.
Said the Bucks winning the Super Bowl. The only way they losing is if AB gets cut. What defense can stop AB, Gronk, Evans, Godwin catching passes from Brady?
Well, first off, we got to give him a blow. Give me a.
I gotta give him one.
Give him one. Give him one. The Bucks winning the Super Bowl. The only way they're losing if AB gets cut.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for that donation, Anthony. I'm actually not as much in belief that this pushes them into that same chasm of Super Bowl certainty that it would have pushed the Seattle Seahawks. I don't. I think that, like Dmack mentioned, a lot of mouths to feed there. You got guys that are not going to necessarily be happy they'd be getting a ton more. I think, Mike Evans is not going to sit around getting two targets a game and watching AB get 8 targets a game. Those guys are really competitive. I don't think that that's going to really work. And the thing with the Tampa Bay, at the end of the day, for me, it's the front seven that's going to decide where they go and where they don't go. I know every Tom gets all the press. I know that offense has a lot of pass catchers and targets and Leonard Fournette and all the goodies there in their bag. But at the end of the day, it was that front seven that had them, for me, projected to be so highly at the start of the year. And they did lose Vita Vea. And they tried to pluck Snacks Harrison off of us to try to fill that in. That would have been a good fill-in for Vita. They've lost a big part. That's a big part of their defense now. They lose another guy or two off that front seven. That's now a very big strength of theirs that starts to get hit a little bit. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that to me is the thing to concentrate on than the pass catchers.
Agreed.
Emmett Brown, what is up? Why the hell does Pete defer to the second half? What is this trash defense and legit offense? Shouldn't we jump on teams ASAP and stay up? I don't know. I always kind of like deferring. I like the thought of you, especially you can steal a possession at the end of half. Like if you can get that last possession in, it allows you to tactically judge what you want to do at the end of half. If you want to go for it and press the ball up the field or play a little more safe, knowing that you got that possession. How about you? Or are you more just get out on top of them, Dmack?
No, I like to defer.
Yeah,
to defer because.
Sorry, go ahead.
Because you get that 1 3 and out, and it can swing the whole game. You get that first 3 and out, you got the offense already thinking like, oh man, it's gonna be a long night, and it's so many things from a tactical standpoint. I like about deferring to the second half.
I do too. And am I not wrong on this? This is probably I'm unsure. If you are deferring too, that allows you to then pick the direction you want to kick, so you can set the stage for the end of the game. At that point, being able to have the wind with you if it's blowing in a particular direction in the stadium, right?
Correct.
In your descent. So that's the second part that it does kind of help you on, which can be key, man. At the end of the game is not going up against the wind or having the bad side of, as we know, the northern end zone of Seahawks CenturyLink is that's the haunted end. That's the end that the kicks go to die at the end of football games. So
then we got Anthony Bain saying trade Dunbar or Shaq for CJ Henderson in a pick.
I don't think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to give up C.J. Henderson. And now, you're talking about, Anthony, me and D-Mac's favorite cornerback in the whole draft here. So when you're talking about that, you're hitting our soft spot, and both of us will sit here and nod and say, okay, sure. And maybe
how many times do somebody trade away their fresh, drafted rookie cornerback like year one? You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of,
and he's showing out. They're not. There's probably 2 players on that Jacksonville Jaguar team right now that are untradeable. He's one of them, and the other guy is that the defensive end that they've got, their pass rusher down there. Those are the 2 guys that they're not going to give up. They just traded all their team. They're not just going to just keep offloading and offloading. Eventually, you put the foot in the ground and say, okay, we'll start getting it right now, and we'll get these guys to contract extensions when they come up, and then we'll start to get some juice back in this building. But hey, if they're willing to do it. Then okay.
Jose's wondering if he can join the Zoom. And like I said, we got a long list. It sounds like everybody want to, jump in.
And what I'll do, Jose, is we'll shoot for maybe see if we get our mods in first on this, because I know I've got my hardworking mods who's helped out on this channel a bunch. So we'll get them in, and I'll talk with Dmack about maybe this Monday we can set out a meeting ID to our mods to get them on in. and then we'll just maybe expand out there and get a couple in. I know if we get just 30 people into this thing, it's going to be like, everybody talking at once. But we'll work on that, Jose. Me and him we'll do a meeting of minds and come up with something.
Yeah,
for sure. Cordell says, I can't believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got AB. Is something wrong with the Hawks or the management? Gordon and Dorsett need to get back quick. I think this is mine. Let me see what your take is on this.
So the first part was saying that he can't believe Tampa Bay got AB, and I can, because like I said, that rapport that he got in New England with Tampa Bay, that's kind of like he's got already home field advantage because he knows what to expect out of already the quarterback that's throwing him the ball. So that's the first thing. And then, is something wrong with the Hawks? I don't think there's something wrong. I think they swung for the fence for him, and like I said, the better team, grabbed him up. It was out of 2 teams, though. I knew it wasn't like 3, 4, 5 teams, because like not all these teams, first of all, knowing not all these teams, can work him out, because it takes 5 days to get over that COVID period, and he's only got a week. So, it was out of 2, 3 teams. And like I say, Tampa Bay just, with having that rapport already with Tom Brady and AB, they just want him out. And like I said, I just congratulate, our management just swinging for the fence and even being in the talks.
Yeah, that's where and we saw a lot of people in Seahawks Nation wringing their hands over the potential of Antonio coming in. Always this horrible guy that's done this. And it's so awesome, by the way, to watch Dmack, people in this day and age where we talk about where they just everybody instantly jumps on before there's due process or anything's gone through. A story gets mentioned with one of these pro athletes who we know. Look, there's some guys that do bad stuff, but there's also guys I know a lot probably get set up a lot. They're targets. Yep. There's a lot of money, and there's a lot of people going, ding, 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 ding. And I'm not saying that's what's going on with him here. I'm just saying that I'm going to hold off my opinions on saying I know that this guy's this and this guy's that, and he's this and that because somebody said it, And the whole thing with me is you could always cut him away. I think the one other thing I'd add, I agree with everything Dmack said. The only thing I'd add in addition to it is I think that we're going to come to find out Tampa offered him a 1 year $5 million or 1 year $7 million when you put the incentives together with it, that they were giving him an actual decent deal for the rest of the year,
right?
As opposed to Seattle willing to give him the minimum. And
I wouldn't be surprised either if it's actually a substantial contract. And just because of Tom Brady can vouch for him, like, hey, I vouch for him, like, just pay the man. I know what I can get out of him production wise.
And 1 year, $7 million would be substantial for me at this point. With those issues I mentioned, you're coming off suspension, you balloon your way out of the last 2 towns you've been in. At this point, that's usually into somewhat of a league minimum, 1 year, $2 million deal kind of thing, especially for what's left on the rest of the season. But that's what he's saying substantial to me. That is a substantial deal that they gave him that amount of money. To me,
and then as far as our wide receivers, we're set. Like we're not in a bad spot as far as our wide receiving core. We got depth everywhere, and we're healthy. I don't think we've heard one injury out of our wide receiving core so far. So
no, not yet. And I think
and
Anthony thinks that Josh Gordon's not going to be reinstated, but I disagree. I think at some point or another he will be reinstated. I think what it's going to come down to is it's going to turn into a year suspension. So last year, week 10 is when he got suspended. We're on week 7. So, a couple more weeks and I think at that point he'll be put on. It'd be hard to see the commissioner holding his line on this one. He's putting Nate Irving off. We've got Eldon Smith getting back in this year. I mean, Eldon Smith's done some stuff that's just like straight buck wild, like run into a tree and keep his foot on the gas pedal after he's already hit the tree,
And I like Gordon coming back over Dorsett because Gordon can move the sticks and move the chains. Dorsett is a kind of a trick player. He's just a deep ball threat. And we've got that covered. We got guys that can take the top off the zone. We need possession receivers, guys that can move the chains, get us, that clutch third down, conversion.
I think Gordon changes the offense a little bit in that he's still that guy. I don't think he's maybe exactly what he was 4 years ago, but I don't think when he gets on the football field, I've maintained this and stay one with him. To me, it's not a problem with him still having the skill set and ability out there to get it done. I don't think that Tom was his best match for him at the end there, and that some of the production that dropped off with the Patriots before he came to Seattle was more having to do with Tom's inability to really push the ball deep down the football field. I mean, he's not that guy anymore, really, and he can get away with a little more in Tampa Bay in that era, but it's still to me lesson. But here with Russell, it's a pure skill fit, just like with DK. I expect this to be good.
Yep. So let's see. So Cameron Hughes says double spy would be 11-on-9 football. That is
Yeah,
correct.
I don't think it would. I don't think you'd be able. You might. That's the one where they say cutting off your nose despite your face. I think is what that would be right there.
Anthony Bain doesn't think Josh Gordon is coming back, saying he is toast. And
yeah, I don't agree, man. I think he's coming back. That'd be harsh of the commissioner's office to do it, and I just don't see them. I don't see that happening.
oh, Randall McDaniel made a good comment saying AB's from Florida, so that may have tipped it in their favor
True.
too. So I didn't even think about that.
True. That's another thing. I don't think yeah, I think they have the income tax down there. It's either they do or they don't. It's either really bad
They
or
do. They do.
Yeah, I think it's expensive too. Eltheria hates Bruce Arians with a passion. Well, now they do have BA and AB, which is kind of funny. I think that's hilarious. But hey, Arians, the thing you got to love about him is he's ballsy. He can get on your nerves, but he's any coach that runs by the motto of no risk it, no biscuit.
Sharma says we're going 19-0. Forget what y'all talking about.
Sean, man. Coming down, all right. Hey, if we go 19-0 with this team, I'm gonna be feeling real good throughout this year. Hard to see when the yard, huh?
He said if you add AB with Evans, Godwin in the locker room, it's going to be bad, and that's actually something interesting because we didn't really talk about that dynamic. And Evans, to me, he's kind of like a prima donna wide receiver. Like he can get moody when he's not catching, the ball too as well. So
I get the same feeling off him. Yeah, you need to keep him going. Yeah.
That's legit.
And say nothing of Godwin at this point, who, is definitely going to get relegated now as the number, he'll be probably an outside guy, but he's going to be the third read on a given play. How many touches is he going to get? Especially a guy like Tom, who can go through 3 reads, but again, isn't going to extend plays and get to that 3rd or 4th or 5th guy through extending plays like other quarterbacks in this day and age can.
Plus, Gronk is finally cutting it on.
Yeah. He's finally turned on and realized he's still got a little bit left. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm more skeptical on this one than I would have been with the Seattle one. And it's not just the homer in me, it's the understanding how it kind of all would have worked. And Russell being in that let him cook mode where he can throw high volume right now. I think he can get away with that. Randall says, I'm not heartbroken about AB, not going to lie. I was excited, but this isn't the 2018 offense. We're humming already. Might turn out to be a blessing. Could be. Ishan says you saw what happened with him and Juju. Yeah, he can definitely get a little bit. Juju got the team MVP award, and that was what supposedly threw Antonio off of his original, just going kind of sideways with that organization. But I think he's going to toe the line right here. I think he's going to be a good soldier at least for this next 8 weeks because he knows there's a big payday. If he can be good with Tom. Right. He's going to be able to get the 3-year, $20 million deal after this season that I'm sure is what he's really looking for. Go ahead.
He is saying Cordell, they didn't decide to not get AB, then campaign for him. Adam Schefter would not report that we were in talks with them till the end if there were the case.
Oh, she was talking to Cordell.
Oh.
L3 also says they hung their quarterback out to dry when he went to bat for Antonio Bryan, and everybody questioned his moral compass and integrity while Pete got to answer softball questions. Yeah, it's the thing with the story releasing out, Dmack, if you're right, it is the agent that released it out. Maybe it makes more sense then at that point if we're looking through that lens. If it was Seattle who did it and they were testing the waters from a PR standpoint, as I've heard some writers propose, which is a potential as well. You're wanting to see if there's going to be this big, huge backlash, and they were gauging that. Then, yeah, I mean, I don't think Russ is pretty unbreakable at this point as far as his public relation image goes. I don't think him vouching for Antonio Brown or trying to help him is going to do anything to hurt his, what is the Q rating they talk about, DMAC, for these guys. So I don't think his Q rating gets hurt because he went to bat for Antonio Brown, and Pete was probably willing to let him take the heat because it was, again, let's also be clear with this, the reports are the organization wasn't really big on bringing in Antonio Brown, that it was more Russell leading that drumming march.
And the same to be said for Bruce Arians. He was denying, adamantly that he wasn't interested in AB. So, I mean, on both sides.
Yeah, both sides. Everybody's playing their little games, man. No, not being real with what they're saying for whatever reason on that. Den asked if Jamal Adams will be back. Nope, I'm sorry, not this week. We're going to have to wait at least one more week, Den. And this makes sense with what me and Dmack talked about this week, is that this is when you're 5-0, you're the only undefeated team in the NFC. You have a little more room for error. You've got a week where if it's on the line and you've got a guy who could come back and play, I mean, he could. Well, let's give him one more week. Let it run. Let it ride out, and they're doing that. So I think that's good. We agree with him. Disappointing Rasheem Green not playing. We kept hearing after the bye, it's been 7 weeks. I think they're too conservative sometimes. Could be. I mean, Dmack, when you're playing injured, I never really got beat up enough playing football when I played football to have to get out there and really fight through too much injury past a bruise here or there. When you're legitimately a rolled ankle or something like that, or a pulled groin, how diminished are you as a player? How much does it really truly, do you just tune it out once the game starts and you're rolling?
I definitely think it depends on position because, let's say you're a running back, the ankle is a lot more valuable to a running back that has to go, pretty much the length of the field if the defense allows him to. And then you got a guy that's really just only going a couple feet as far as a defensive lineman. So it definitely has to deal with what position you're playing. If you're playing corner, you're going to have to, travel more steps per play. So I think if you're a big guy, you don't have to really worry about the ankle as much. And it is shocking that they are being conservative with bringing him back, just being a defensive lineman. So, yeah, it must be either serious or they just being like super, super conservative.
Well, it's supposed to be a stinger, and those ones are always hard, aren't they? Stingers are a little tough to judge on what sometimes they can be like 1 week they're back after a week with a stinger, and sometimes it's like this where it's just lingering on, and you're like, what's going on? It's like an impingement, I think, in your neck or something.
Yeah. It could be a pinched nerve and things like that, and it could like hinder range of motion as far because defensive linemen, they have to definitely get their hands up, swim moves and all that different stuff, spinning and all that stuff. And you have to use your hands to engage. So it could be something that's in his neck or close to his spinal cord, something, a pinched nerve that could be giving him an issue.
It's hard. I've been there myself. When you got that thing pinched, it's hard to just fight through it and be the good soldier. It hurts on everything you're doing, every move. It hurts to breathe, depending on where it can be at times. So Anthony Bain says Seahawks need to make a move, trade KJ and Penny Diggs to the Jets for Marcus May. Boy, I don't see the upside on that type of move, man. And I don't think the Jets would take KJ right off our hands. I don't know on that one. Daniel says, do you see a reality where we're looking for 2 new corners next year? Shaq may get overpaid, offers from other teams, and Dunbar can stay healthy. Well, thanks for the question there, Daniel. What do you think on that one, D?
I can see that being a reality, which I actually hope that's a reality that comes true. My opinion on Shaq, we can find, either something lateral to him for less money. And Dunbar, like I said, I don't think he's a good fit just from what I see on film.
Yeah, I'm with Dmack on this. I'm not at the point where I'm willing to pay either of these two guys for all the reasons kind of spoken about. And the other thing is, let's go back again to the Super Bowl winning season. I mentioned this once before, but there was some heated internal discussions within the Seahawks front office about giving Richard Sherman his well-deserved contract extension at that time. Best corner in the league, pushing Darrelle Revis out. He's the new guy. He's the next guy up. Yet there was hesitancy. Why? Why were they hesitant? Because Richard wasn't a good player? They didn't see him sustaining the same level of play? No. Because within this system, the cornerback is devalued. Why? Because he plays zone and specifically cover 3 so often. When he's doing that over and over and over again all the time, well, why do you need to have a primetime guy out there? Why not get a young, cheap guy out there? Because that's a pretty easy task. It's not an easy task. It's an easier task than asking a guy, let's say, to play man, right, Dmack? It's something where somebody can come in right out the gate and give you relatively decent play as long as they've got a decent head on their shoulders and they can kind of figure out the route combinations and how teams are trying to attack them. But yeah, I could see a Daniel along with him for that reason. I think, in fact, I'd probably, if I was recommending you the Seahawks front office, I'd recommend it and say that you should go in this way. Take those resources and allot them to other places.
Right. And me and Brandon, we're on the same page when we don't like spending in this particular defense. We don't want to tie up much of our money into cornerbacks. Safeties, yes, because we rely on safeties, but cornerbacks in this defensive scheme is so vanilla that you don't ask much of them. So you shouldn't be like paying top dollar premium for cornerbacks in this actual scheme that we run.
That's it. It's not a good way. If you were doing a different scheme, then I might evaluate our cornerbacks differently, but the scheme is what it is. You know, I mean, it just is what it is. A little bit. I've said this too. It's a little bit the same way for me with running backs in this scheme as well. I think that it's a way where you don't always have to go, you know, as hard. You can use those early picks. You can use that salary cap space for other resources that are harder to get, that you have to spend a little bit more for, and save the money in this area. Randall says Quinn Williams is a stud. If you were the Jets, why would you trade the 3rd pick in the draft? At that point, it's just dumb. Well, let's say first reason they might do it is, what if they're looking to potentially bring in a 3-4 coach? We've talked about position specifics, right? 3-4 scheme, 3 down linemen. You're going to have one big fat Vince Wilfork type that's going to run about what, Dmack 350. Going to run 3 and 5 bills. Yep. And then you're going to have your 2 defensive ends. They're going to run out there about 6'4" to 6'5", and they're going to be about 275 to 280. Those because you need guys that are clogging up on the front of a 3-4 rather than a 4-3. You're going to ask them to be attackers and penetrators and guys that are going to get in the backfield. So right. Like Quinn Williams, I reference Warren Sapp. What's Warren Sapp, a 3-tech? What's Quinn Williams, a 3-tech? Guess what? There's not in a 3-4 usually. A 3-tech. They use blitzing and that type of thing to attack the quarterback more often than not. So, right. Just they may be looking in that direction. And if they're looking in that direction and they have a coach in mind that they're going to go to that, you know, that scheme, then they would look to move him at that point. I don't think that it would be a 3rd round pick you'd be able to get him for. You're going to have to give up more than that, Randall. Or you said he's the 3rd pick in the draft, was what you're saying. My bad. How about OBJ, Dmack? We got a suggestion here from OBJ.
No OBJ.
No OBJ?
It's weird.
As the 4th wideout?
Yeah, no OBJ, man. Like, come on, man. Like, he's already on like just a crazy roster right now.
Yeah.
No OBJ, man. His antics and all the other stuff. Yeah. It's crazy that I would actually choose AB over OBJ, because I actually think, even though like people say a lot of baggage with Antonio Brown, it wasn't really baggage. Like, the dude comes to work. Like, he's probably one of the hardest working guys in the league. Like, and I don't really think OBJ is that type of guy that's going to put the work in and stuff like, and that actually really wants to win as bad as AB does. So I actually just don't like OBJ from just so many different reasons.
I'm not sure OBJ loves the game. That's the thing.
Yeah, he doesn't love the game, bro. He's a prima donna that wants all the clout and status of being a superstar. Like,
Holy Chronicles podcast. What's up, Holo Chronicles? Sorry, I mispronounced that. Can we please get the 80s unis back? Silver lids and pants. It's working so well with the Chargers. Come on, Hawks. It's not the Hawks, of course. It is the league office who makes you choose between 2 alt uniforms every year. We've got those color rush jerseys, and then we also have the wolf grays, which I actually kind of like the wolf grays. If I had to make,
I like the wolf gray.
Yeah, I like the wolf gray. Wolf gray's tight. Get the color rush out. Bring in the 80s jerseys. Dmack, if you saw those 80s silvers, man, it's clean. It's a clean look. Sejurius Rez, keep in mind a stinger is what ended both Cam and Cliff's career. The caution they have with Rasheem is definitely warranted. Yeah, I didn't know it was a stinger with them. I thought with them they actually had damage in their neck versus an impingement, that there was actual like long-term damage in both of those two guys' necks, and that one more hit and it was going to snap.
It can get there, man. That's where that stinger derives from. It derives from that neck and that spinal. So
it's never good when you're playing up in that area. That whole area is just dangerous. It's just a dangerous little playground of like career-ending situations.
Joey says Seattle creates pressure and gets to the quarterback. They need to finish. That's the only issues. We need those sacks when we get home.
Okay, so this is a little bit speaks to a stat that came out about a week and a half ago, Joey, where people were mentioning, you're not completely wrong, but there is a little bit of wrong in there in the respect of people looked at it and they said, if you look at our pressures, we've got as many pressures as anybody in the NFL. We've got almost as many as anybody, top 5. The problem is in a couple of respects with this. Number one, you give up so many yards in the air and you allow the quarterback to throw so often, you're giving so many opportunities to your pass rusher to then create a pressure when you take that as a total stat. That's the first issue with it. The second issue is that when you do pressure and you're getting to them, Joey, you're doing it by having to blitz as much as any team in the league, top 5, right? And trying to, when you do blitz to get that pressure. Problem with that is when you miss on blitzing, Dmack, what happens? What happens when you send the house, Dmack, and you don't get home?
It's a touchdown.
But aren't you? But aren't you then as well usually generating pressure?
Yeah.
So here you can kind of see Joey and Dmack's answer just right there. The two things. No, it's usually a touchdown, but you're also usually generating pressure.
Right.
So again, the pressure stat comes up, but it looks good. Stat column will show a pressure on that, but you gave up the touchdown. So you want pressure by the front four, not by having to blitz, not by having to send the house, but by the front four guys generating that pressure. That's the ideal for a scheme. That's the way it should work, in the way that Pete Carroll draws it up on his board in the middle of the night in the offseason.
And sometimes you can, like, let's say the ball's on the far left hash, you can pinch that, like you can shorten up the field a little bit by blitzing in certain angles that, hey, I can leave one guy open if I blitz the inside slot corner and come after guys. But that's just more like, you got to have the right personnel. You got to, like, if you look at like what Budda Baker does and stuff like that, like that's kind of what I mean as far as just like bringing blitzes outside of the front four that can hit home and just kind of cause some havoc and things like that. And we haven't done that in Seattle, but I think like we were getting there. Like Jamal was doing a couple things that were just like hitting home as far as pressures and blitzes and stuff. So we were getting there, and it kind of got derailed because he had the groin injury. So there's ways to bring more than just the front four and leave a guy maybe seemingly like he's open, but just giving up certain routes just to try to get home and make a play on the quarterback. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and it's the scheme stuff where our scheme isn't set up to necessarily blitz well. We haven't drafted guy. You bring Jamal Adams, who's a great blitzer, but you've not looked at players who are great blitzers for a while in this team. You've been kind of just going, well, just bring a guy in who can tackle and rally the ball and all that the good things they look for in their base player. But then they don't look for the guy who can disguise well, or the guy that can read a play on the fly and see that, oh, the tight end I can see right here on the snap is going to go right to the defensive end and help out on a combo block. If I just pull the trigger and come off the edge, I'm going to come unblocked and have a free run at the quarterback, which is what we saw Jamal do in the first game against Atlanta on the play. He got the sack. Tight end's right there. Theoretically, he's lined up. He should be reading. A lot of our players, or a previous Seahawks player in that position, would be reading. I don't know what this tight end's going to do. He might be coming out in a route. I might have to cover him in the flat. The second he knows the tight end's going to go and block down, though, he's released of his responsibility.
Is reading his keys, and it's what they call it is a blitz check. So if he's blocking or if he's going in a route, it determines what the assignment he needs to do. So if he sees that he's either pulling or blocking, then that instantly triggers, let's go now, because it's either a run play or I don't have to defend him because he's not going on a route. So I can instantly blitz and get in there and create some havoc. Yeah.
And Jamal gives you that. You've got a couple guys here and there, but I think until you add more guys of that type, or you do little, tweaks to the scheme that you can't do really mid-season at this point, it's just not going to be necessarily the best game. But when they blitz you every once in a while, they can be effective at it. Just not the top 5 thing. They just haven't been very efficient in that respect. It's almost like desperation city at times.
Yep. Cameron Hughes is saying, I think we could possibly clean out the cornerback room next year. Other than interceptions, nobody outside of Amadi has shown noticeable improvement.
He's not wrong, is he?
Nope.
I mean, he's not wrong. I would like to keep Amadi going forward. I'd love to see still what we have in Marquise Blair potentially. But I'm okay with cleaning out the rest of the stuff at that point. Absolutely, I am.
Anthony Bain, Cardinals defense better than ours, specifically the secondary. Budda Baker, top 5 safety. Peterson, Byron, Murphy.
I don't know that they're a better defense than ours. Especially if you're going to take away now Chandler Jones, we take away Jamal Adams. Are they a better defense right now? I mean, maybe. I mean, look, we're not playing great on defense, so there's just about every team in the league is better than us defensively right now. But I'm not as convinced yet that they're there. They may be. They've got talent. I mean, they've got some talent.
As bad as you need players, you also need a great defensive coordinator. I think they have better defensive coaching than we do right now.
Yeah, they
just
do.
to be honest.
Their defensive coordinator is one of the better in the league.
This sucks to say, but coaches do make a difference. I mean, I know you don't see the coaches on the field, but they do make a difference on why, certain defenses look the way they do.
Especially the creative ones. When the creative ones who are getting it right, not the creative ones who are just the Greg Williams type from the Jets who's just going to be aggressive for the sake of being aggressive, but the ones that are smartly attacking. We saw it with the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings got beat up on it, but they had some really smart blitzes in that game against us. I thought, especially that first half, part of the reason they stopped us is the way that they sent those guys, and they would have the safety started over off the right of the middle linebacker and then loop him around the whole end. Just so he's almost disappeared from Russell and then pokes back out, and it's like it just delayed.
I wish I can put the film of last night, because it was some stuff that I saw. It was on a goal line play where the Giants and Daniel Dimes, they called up a play that was, man, it was so picture perfect for the defense. And they watched a lot of film on the Eagles and the cornerbacks on what they do when they, because a lot of times with these cornerbacks and the wide receivers, they play chess. And so you see at the goal line, you see a lot of these wide receivers running those pick moves. So as a cornerback, how do you defend that? You just pass him off to the next guy. Hey, if he goes in, we know to switch. The funny thing is they switched, and then the wide receiver then they turned around from the guy that they switched to, and he actually attacked leverage. And so he had inside leverage, and they scored a touchdown. And that was like, bro, that was next level of just like knowing what the defense is going to do, what the cornerback is going to do in order to get a successful play in the red zone. And scoring in the red zone is a lot harder than they make it look. Once you get down there that close, is really like a lot of chess play in that position. So
shrinks up, the field shrinks, and you just don't have as much room.
And it was Sterling Shepard with the touchdown. If you guys were watching the game.
Yeah, and that's where when you have that, you have that coaching that does that. It's what I've asked at times for us with our offense, giving Russell easy completions. So that stuff we see with Kansas City, they do this very well, where it's in the screen game or whatever. Just they get creative, but they allow their quarterback not to have to every play hero ball. He has some easy stuff in there, and it just lets him.
That was not Daniel Dimes that made that touchdown. That was coaching that made that touchdown.
It's coaching all the way with that, and that's possible to find that on film if you just got the right coaches who are willing to implement it. Some coaches though just go out and play and figure it out. Just do it. But we'll have to look at a couple of your suggestions there for cornerbacks that you mentioned. I have not looked at those two guys you mentioned, Cameron, but we will look at J.C. Horn and Israel Mukumamu. Yeah. That's a name.
Sure.
Spencer says, I think we will win because Chandler Jones is having a terrible year. So Russ will have time and Kyler will turn the ball over. Well, Chandler Jones and Spencer is not in this game. He's out for the year, torn pectoral muscle. He is gone for the season. So to your point, I have mentioned that was one of the things that gave me initial confidence here is that Chandler Jones has been a Seahawks record throughout his career. I think he's got 39 sacks of his career sacks are against the Seattle Seahawks. So him not being in this game and him wrecking shop over there, because they put him over on Brandon Shell, and poor Brandon Shell will be over there against Chandler, and he just have his hands full. So that's big. It's big that we got him out of this game.
And Team 12 said there's still a chance that we will sign AB because the Buccaneers haven't put it pen to paper yet as far as that contract. So that's a really good point.
It is, and we're talking about AB. There's a guy that's enigmatic, and things can change on the fly suddenly. As we saw, it's reports yesterday, we thought he'd be a Seahawk. Today, there's reports he's in Tampa Bay. So if it changed tomorrow, we'd be completely shocked. No. I think the fact he's on a plane, though, and traveling, getting on the plane and this epidemic, going through all that at this point, probably indicative that he's going to go there and that it's pretty much just a done deal. John Lennon, we're not going to do the join today, but we will join it. We'll do join down the road. We'll figure something out with that. Randall McDaniel says, write it down. Collier has at least 1.5 sacks versus the Cardinals. Randall feeling confident in LJ. Feeling super confident in LJ. Well, if he gets that, I'd feel pretty good, Randall. So that sounds good to me. Spencer says Bucks ain't it. They ain't even going to win their division. They do have some work to do in that division, right? I mean, New Orleans got them in the first game of the season. Now that was in New Orleans. So the next game is going to be in Tampa Bay. But I don't know, man. This makes them better. This does make them better. And it deepens their receiving core that's been banged up. Mike Williams is banged up. Godwin's been banged up, right? Dmack. They've lost O.J. Howard for the season. Yep. So, they needed a little bit in some more bodies. I think they just got some rookies out there other than that. So this helps them as far as for the, as injury goes too. Maybe one of those injuries on those receivers is a little more serious than we're led to believe. Yeah. Could be that too.
So we're inside 20 minutes for the show. Let's do rapid fire.
All right. So we're going to wrap it up. We'll just trade off on the questions because we are going to just kind of get through this. And I will be doing the post-game folks on this game for Sunday night. We'll be doing a late post-game on that one. So, but during the week, me and Dmack are going to try to do 2 of these shows, Monday or Tuesday, and then a Thursday, Friday, in there as we can to kind of bring this in. I'm going to get a schedule posted on the channel here at some point when I can get off my lazy butt to get it done. Let me start off. I'm going to do the Anthony Baines run real quick, and then you go down to Altheria. You're going to have to say her name first, by the way.
Yep. I call her E.
What's her long name? Give me all 7 syllables. All right, Anthony, could we grab Grady Jarrett for the Falcons? Probably not. I don't know why they would trade him. I think it's too big of a cap hit. They just signed him to a big deal like 2 years ago. they would have to eat too much money. They got to offload money, not take on money.
All right, we got E saying Cameron, what?
He's talking to Cameron.
Oh, okay. So Cameron Hughes, I would love Grady Jarrett. Okay. That's
who wouldn't love Grady Jarrett, man? I mean, who wouldn't love Grady Jarrett? But the problem is I think that they'd have to take on too much dead money if they were to release him. That's the big thing there. And I don't think you get, or on trade. And they want to offload him to save money on cap moving into next year. That wouldn't accomplish that necessarily. Yeah, Jones is a guaranteed 3 sacks against us. Yes, he's been that way throughout his career.
Mm-hmm. Randall McDaniel talking about deferring, but I have a theory that it'll become a vogue because of Pete. We started doing the 2012, and then other teams follow suit. I tried finding winning percentage of the teams who defer.
Well, that'd be a good stat to see. I'd be very interested to see that one. And I agree with you. I think as I remember going back, only a guy like Bill Belichick was one of the few people that I always see consistently defer. But yeah, Carroll's been doing this for years. I think it's whenever there's a strategy to something and you've thought something through and there's a reason you're choosing to do it, I'm usually going to give you the big thumbs up and say, go for it. And in this case, I think with Pete, this is a smart move to defer for some of the reasons we talked about. Eltheria says, what do you think about Junior Gillette? He's been out for a while, but he's been training this whole time, waiting on a call. Went downhill for the guy right around the time that he started swinging a belt at a woman on a beach a couple years ago. You remember that video where he's getting attacked by a mob of women? He's just throwing the belt buckle around. He's just trying to keep him off him, man. That's all he's doing. But I think he tore his ACL shortly after that with the Redskins, and he's never really kind of been the same. I don't think so. He's probably washed, right?
Yep. Randall McDaniel saying Josh Allen is the DN at Jacksonville.
Thank you, Randall.
Yep, Kentucky.
I couldn't think of that.
That's right.
Randall, yeah, we'll get you and we'll get a couple of our guys in
on
this next one. You'll be in there on it. We just want to get a little control on who we've got coming through because I can't have people popping in here doing some inappropriate things, getting my channel killed. We might have to record it just to be sure. Right. What's up, D-Boy? Good to see you on the chat.
What's going on?
Randall McDaniel says maybe the Saints cut Michael Thomas. It becomes too big of a headache. Unlikely, but we see teams do it. Boy, he just signed that deal last year. I don't think they would do that. I know he's been a headache down there and a problem, but that would be insane for them, especially right now when they're in the last year. I mean, they got to tear that thing down to the studs after the season with their salary cap situation.
Cameron Hughes says, is Michael Thomas getting cut an actual possibility?
I can't see it. It would be the first time I can remember anybody signing this big of a deal. This isn't Antonio Brown getting cut by the Raiders. He signed like 3 times the size of that deal. They cut that, all that bonus money accelerates. Now, maybe they go after his bonus money, Dmack. I mean,
a player that caliber don't get cut. It's just not, they get traded.
The one thing is with this, though, is that with Earl, he got cut. They're going back after his money. This guy, when he got into a fight with a teammate on the field, maybe they think there's been some situations that have stacked up of him being laid and all that other stuff, and that they're going to try to go back after his money after his cut. Never a good look for a team.
Seems like a long route to do that when you can easily trade them and be wash your hands.
I would think that would probably be the better route. It's an intriguing situation though as far as how they play it, because this is it. This is their last shot this year. This is it. There's not another year after this year. I mean, they got a good roster overall. Breeze is gone. Jameis Winston's not the answer for you. And that other guy that they were trying to, with the utility guy, like he's shown that he's not it either. Theoria says they can't do much without Michael Thomas. Yeah, they can't do very much, can they, without him? That offense is hand.
They're not doing much with him right now with Drew Brees, the way he's throwing the ball.
Yeah, Brees' arm is done, I think. He can't push you down the field anymore like he did. Just can't. Anthony Bain, we could go after Matt Judon since Yannick is going to the Ravens. Not exactly a fit. He's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker, blitzing type linebacker. If you look at his sacks last year and pressures, a lot of them came when he blitzed and came on I just don't think he would be a scheme fit for us.
Cameron Hughes says, I like how Josh Gordon can't smoke weed, but AB can assault his trainer or whatever he does and can play after a slap on the wrist.
Gordon, I've said for a while, this feels punitive on Gordon. It feels unduly punitive. It's this message that you don't need to send that you're sending that just doesn't, I don't understand why they're doing it with this particular guy. He's not been malicious or evil or mean in his stuff. He's had addiction problems. I would think with the NFL, again, letting Irvin back, guy literally smoking a big fat blunt, basically putting a big middle finger to the NFL in their policy a few years ago. Gordon's not been that. He's not been that, but they're showing some kind of hesitancy for something. And please do, as Cameron says there, like in the chat if you're in here and haven't liked it already. Please smash that like button. If you're not subscribed, come on, subscribe. Don't forget as well, Dmack Talks Seahawks, a new channel. Dmack has just opened up. Get over there and subscribe to that channel as well. You don't want to miss this stuff. We're going to be rolling smoking hot. And I'm going fast here, Dmack. I know we got to wrap this up here. You could see Seattle media go and Russ. You could see the Seattle media go and Russ about AB yesterday. Could see he was uncomfortable. Might have been a precursor to what would have been. I think Greg Bell from Tacoma is a real prick. Yeah, I've had some interactions with Greg Bell myself on Twitter that haven't always been fun. The Seattle media, I don't understand all that often sometimes, and some of the approaches that they have and the way that they question Pete, softball questions on Pete. And then when they decide that they're going to be hardline journalists, like in this moment with Russ on AB, that was when you could see guys like Joe Fan puff up their chest and go, I'm going to ask him a question tomorrow and I'm going to hold his feet to the fire. Oh, did you? You in the name of justice and all that, you know, that's your trench to die on, is it, buddy? That's the hill that you're going to go and, like, give me a break with your false crap on that. The people with their whole thing, Dmack, of this with AB and everybody throwing their rocks out their glass house. Like, I really like to see it. It's awesome watching people just up there on their horse, like living the perfect life, never done it. Like,
right.
Okay. I get the guy's he's got problems. He does.
Yeah.
It's
like,
not to say
we
that
all
the guy's
have
nice
problems.
man.
We all got issues,
problems.
man. He's just
Yeah.
magnified because he's on that level. Like,
Yeah,
be real.
Exactly. Be real about it. But people just went way, to me, it got a little bit like deranged at times on stuff. Did anyone know when we're going to start getting to our questions? Sorry, D-boy. We're trying to go fast, man.
Yeah, Anthony Bain, AB made Juju, and this season is evidence. Juju isn't even the best wide receiver on the Steelers. That's Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson's team, and I agree.
D-Mac loves him, Claypool. He was on the Claypool train a long time ago.
Hey, in fantasy, I drafted him literally my last pick on my fantasy team, and I knew right away. Like, I know all wide receivers because I'm a DB. He's a problem.
He is a problem. That's a great pick for them. I wouldn't have minded seeing in Seattle. Imagine him, Chase and DK. Could you imagine both those two guys on outside, those big guys, all day long, man? L3 says, dude, Greg Bell just argues with people on Twitter and isolates a bunch of people. That's what I had with him. I tried to ask him if he just asked a question, and he got all pissy about me and refused to ask the question because he claimed that he already knew the answer, which I always like when journalists do that. No, I don't need to actually ask the president that question. I think I already know what the answer is. Why don't you just ask it anyway, you know?
Randall McDaniel said, it seems like Greg Bell hates the Hawks, hides behind, I'm a journalist BS. He just tries to hide behind his mystique.
Journalists love to hide behind their they do. They love that, hiding behind that mantle of I am here as a public, like they're a public servant of some type, right? Like they're here for the greater good, but then they don't do the things that old journalists used to kind of sometimes do, you know, like ask hard questions at times that make people uncomfortable, not just when it's convenient for you, or not when it's just your pet little virtue signaling project, you know. So El Theory says she wasn't talking about hurting Russell Wilson's image. I was talking about Russell being pissed off because he wanted Antonio Brown and he put his neck out there for him and they didn't pull the trigger. Could be. There could be something to that, El Theory. We'll have to, I think, wait a little bit more time, more information to come out to find out what the case was. How much money were they offering? How much money was Tampa Bay offering? Dmack mentioned the fact that he's from Florida. I mean, how do we know that, you know, Antonio said, look, the money's all equal on this. That's not the problem, Russ. I want to go be near my family. I've got a mansion in Florida. You know, like that can be in itself enough to push a guy in. We just don't know right now. So we're,
Yep. And then, like I said, they said he hadn't inked yet. So, I mean, it's still yet to be seen, like, what was the deciding factor. And he will, once his press conference come out, he'll describe exactly what made him pull the trigger with Tampa and why Tampa over Seattle and all that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. El Theory says there are guys like Rob Stanton that is a fan and doesn't pull punches when the Seahawks mess up like last offseason, and then there's Bell. I agree. It's the two sides of the coin where you have people like, and I love Rob Stanton's work. He does very good work over there at the Seahawks draft blog, especially in the college stuff. And I'm right on point with him in a lot of the respects of how he's looked at this last offseason, the way Seattle attacked it, and how they utilized that $50 million. Which there's a lot of fans that don't think it was necessarily appropriate. Now, if they've gotten around it, are they 5-0? Is it everything good? Yeah, it still is. So they have overcome it, but they've had to overcome lack of some of those moves at it. You'd like to see the media take more of a page from a guy like Rob Stanton, who's also a local media, I think, over in Britain. I know he's a Brit, but, you know, he is a journalist over there as well, and take a page out of that book as to, you know, I think with it, though, the Dmack with those guys, they're worried about their access. You know, they get their access. You step on the coach's feet a little bit too much, and he goes, hey, that guy doesn't get here anymore. He's out.
Right.
I think that they're all just deathly scared of that.
Yep. Jose says, what would it take to get JJ Watt? We kind of talked about this.
Fourth rounder is my idea on that. Fourth rounder is where I stand on that. I think that's appropriate value. Whether they give him up for that, hard to say. He's got to retire.
Randall McDaniel, this is what pisses me off about Rasheem Green is bigger issues with pass rush. It doesn't seem to be a big deal with them. I think Pete is trying to prove a point about his D.
He could be. I mean, this stuff doesn't look good on Pete when a guy's a defensive mastermind. A guy builds his defensive first. He puts the resources to the defensive side of the ball, and the defensive side of the ball is sucking. That doesn't, regardless of what he might be trying to do in the background, as far as, you know, his machinations, that to me would be the bigger problem above all else. And that would trump any machinations he'd have in the respective. I need to get this defense to a somewhat just legitimate point. It's a sieve. It's on point right now to give up the most yards in the air in NFL history. I mean, the defenses we've seen throughout our lifetime, and to think that this defense is the one that's going to be in that position to do that, there's reasons for it. No fans in the stadium. Offense is going to go through the roof league-wide anyway. But all that being said, it's an issue, and it needs to be dealt with, Randall. They need to do something about the pass rush. They can't just sit here pat. Rasheem probably has the injury that ended Danielle Hunter's season. Zimmer and Pete described the injuries the same way. Could be. We're certainly getting closer into the point where you're going to look at that being a potential season injury when you get into week 8, when week 9, week 10, you're still waiting on the guy.
The second says AB did us dirty. Let's go beat the Bucks in the playoffs. Hey, makes sense to me.
Let's go beat him, man. I'm with you. I don't know if he did us dirty. We don't know yet. He might have the second, and welcome on in the chat. But we'll have to see a little bit more. But it'll be a fun game. Tampa Bay and Russell to go to the Super Bowl. Russell gets to exercise that demon from 2014 Super Bowl. And kind of finally put Tom to rest with that. I'd be okay with that matchup. Randall says, I guess the Jets traded the other defensive lineman that they drafted high, Leonard Williams, after a short time. I guess Bryant's why they're the Jets. I guess that's why they're the Jets. I think auto-corrected on you, Randall. Yeah, the Jets have been bad, and they've traded away guys. I'm hard-pressed to see them trading away Quinn Williams at this point unless they're getting a first-rounder back or a high second. But if they're willing to do it, I would jump in there. He'd be a great scheme fit on this team, a young player with a couple years of control still left. Pure fit for the 4-3. Pure fit. Ted Brogan with another $5 donation. Man, you're just throwing those out like cotton candy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ted. I really do appreciate that $5 donation. Everybody with the donations today, you guys are so nice about that. Thank you so much. He says, hey, y'all, there's something for effort and for BR to court those island gals. For Brandon to court those island gals. I'm courting, man. I'm over here courting. I'm making moves, you know. I'm doing what I do over here. So it's bubbling. It's popping. I got some irons in the fire. Some island girl irons in the fire, as they say.
We got Craig with the $10 dono. Appreciate you.
And he says we're his favorite Hawks channel, man. There's a lot of great channels out there. That's a huge statement to make, man. I salute you and Ted Brogan, bro. Thank you so much for the donation. Love it. Love it. We're trying to get this built and get you guys as much content as possible. So I do appreciate those donos, and we're just reinvesting back in the channel, keeping this thing going, man. Keeping it going. Cameron says, I don't want to trade a pick for a guy over the age of 27. We should trade for Tack McKinley or maybe Derek Barnett for cheap. I think the only issue with both those two guys is neither has the 5th-year option, I think, picked up on either. So you're going to lose them after the year. If you do trade for him now, you'd like to get a guy that maybe you can get a control for past this year. And if I'm going to get a guy with just this year of control, then I want to make sure that he's ready to roll, that he's a guy that's legitimate, not a guy like these two guys that there's an injury concerns with them. There's maybe a lack of production concerns with them. They're too much of a question mark for me, Cameron. We need more of a certain thing at this point, I feel like. Don't you, Dmack? I mean, if you're going to trade for something, it's got to be somebody that's going to come in and not just give you another guy that's been like a Benson Mayoa or even Alton Robinson. It's like,
we need somebody that can create an impact right now, like not coming off the bench or nothing, just immediate impact.
And thanks again, Craig and Ted. You guys are awesome.
Brandon
Randall says,
Daniel says, I think we should stay away from those old jerseys. We might channel some bad energy. Let's just keep them buried under the kingdom.
we were just a young team in the 80s, man. We were a teenager. We were feeling our way through things, you know. It had nothing to do with the uniforms. It was just having to do with our age. You know, those new teams take a little while to find themselves. And we still did damn good in the 80s. Won, I think, a couple of division titles, got to the playoffs 4 or 5 times in your first 10 years. I mean, that's not bad. It's not bad at all, right?
No, it ain't bad.
D-Boy says, how do the Bucks have all the cap money to sign all these guys? Can you guys break down that for us? Yeah, I can in certain respects here. Obviously with Tom Brady, you're not paying him 40 million. I think they're paying him 35 million, something in that realm. And then if you consider it, before Tom comes aboard there, you know, you've got Mike Evans on a big deal, but other than him, I don't think they've signed Godwin. The offensive line doesn't have a lot of money invested into that, I don't believe. On their defensive line, yeah, you've got a guy like Sue on a 1-year, $8 million deal, but Jason Pierre is on a fairly reasonable deal. Shaq Barrett, I think, is on the franchise tag this year, I believe. So that does seem to put them up against it, but then you got to consider that their secondary, there's nobody that they're paying in their secondary, and they're only paying Levante David. So they've got a deep team, but they've got a lot of the young guys they're not paying, and the guys they are paying, it's only a little collection. Levante David, Ndamukong Suh, Tom Brady, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Shaq Barrett. That's basically your 5, and Mike Evans. So that's 6 names. Now, if you look at Seattle on the reverse side of that right now and who we're paying, we got Dwayne Brown, Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett. Quandre Diggs even has a decent little contract that he's pulling through. KJ Wright, right? Jaron Reed. Like we got these guys in that 9 to 10 to $11 million range. And so that's how our cap starts to fill out a little bit further than what theirs was, because we have a couple of those extra guys on those other deals. This is one of the reasons we were banging the drum so hard to cut a guy like maybe KJ Wright at the start of the year to create that extra cap space, because you could use it vitally to something else, like a pass rusher.
Right now we got a new person in the chat. We got Carla Bell.
Oh, Clara's in here all the time. She loves my beard, man.
Clara's in here. Oh, she's saying hello from New York, like she ain't never been here.
What's up, Clara?
Oh, okay.
He's just coming along here, Clara.
Okay. Hello from New York. So Antonio Brown to the Bucks. Cardinals' next opponent, DeAndre Hopkins, still have an ankle injury. Tell me about Week 9 against Bills. Tom have Chicago to worry about.
So yeah, Hopkins does have the ankle thing. He's a guy that's a gamer to me. If he's out on the football field, he's not going to show you a lot of drop off. And he hasn't this year. I mean, he's been phenomenal this year on every stat. I mean, just base receiving and yards, he's up there. Then you look at the Pro Football Focus scores, they match right up along with it. He's going to be a problem in this game. I mentioned earlier last week that him against us in the Texans in 2017 game, he just ate us alive on the intermediate routes, and just we couldn't cover him for nothing in that game. And yeah, Tom's got to worry about Chicago. We're going to learn about whether Chicago's legitimate this week or not. They go in there. Well, wait, didn't they already play Chicago? I thought Chicago beat the Buccaneers.
No, they play them. They play them this week.
No, they played them already, because there was the whole thing about Tom walking off the field and not shaking Nick Foles' hand.
Let me see. Let me look at it.
Yeah, I think they already played, Clara. I think, but I mean, Chicago beat them. So, and it seems like Nick Foles is in Tom Brady's heads for some.
Yeah, they did. They already played him. Yeah,
weird,
Week 5.
And Clara, we'd love to see J.J. Watt here. 4th round pick. I'm all in favor of it. I probably wouldn't give up a 2nd round pick. I might even do a 4th rounder and a 7th rounder if they need a little sweetening of the pot. But that would be a move that I would put up into that category of yes. I would be check that box off for me if you can get him. Dustin, hello. What's up, Dustin? And again, guys,
Dustin?
Sorry for those new people hopping in the chat. These little shows, we make these just little quick in and outers, hour and a half, 2 hours at the most. So we'll be checking out here soon, but I will be on Sunday night post game. And Dustin, don't worry, I won't with my title spoil the game for you. El Theory says, hey, what do you think about Junior Gillette giving a try? You can give him a tryout at least, El Theory, but I don't think that they're going to see anything in that tryout to bring him aboard. But it's worth kicking the tires on. I'd say that at least. Mike Myers says, hello, guys. Thanks for the show. Just checking in. What's up, Michael? Thank you for hopping in. Sorry, we're just going to be hopping out here fairly soon, but, there's a lot of good stuff here in this show. You can go back and check out.
Yep. We got Lars in the comment. That's a good buddy of mine.
What's up, Lars?
Hey, what's going on, Lars? Trinity Nitro. He said odds on the game in Arizona ends in a tie. And can we please get rid of time games? What in the NFL?
Time games in the NFL?
What is that?
I don't know what you mean by it. Time. Can we get rid of time games in the
Oh,
NFL?
maybe tied games.
Oh, tied games. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's referencing, of course, Dmack a couple years ago. We had the 6-6 tie in that wild game that was just nobody wanted to win that football game. Was how I felt with that one a couple years ago. But I think my prediction on this game, I thought 2 touchdowns early in the week. I'm going to drop that back down a little bit. I'll go to something like 34-31. How about we say this is within a field goal? So I'll go 34-31. What do you got on this one, D?
I gotta win it by 10 still. I actually don't know what the spread will be, but I just know they're winning by 10.
10. Both teams over 20 points?
Both teams over 20 for sure.
Okay. That game was a snoozer, though. It was a 6-6 tie, but boy, that game was frustrating to watch. That was not a fun football game. That was one of those ones that just like, please God, somebody do something. Craig Fawcett says, make sure you guys download the NBC Predictor app. Chance to win $100K, and this will be the 3rd time Seahawks will be Sunday night prime time. Oh, good suggestion, Craig. Check it out. He's getting paid to promote it. That's okay. Well, Craig donates to the channel, so he can throw his promo out as much as he wants.
Yes, sir.
Lars says Dmack loves the maple syrup.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Chat,
I don't know what Lars is talking about right now, but yeah.
What is
Mapletrons?
He's not referencing back that old Chris Rock bit, is he?
I don't know what Lars is talking about.
Syrup bit.
This guy, he's on one.
Are you referencing back to the syrup bit with Chris Rock?
I don't know, bro.
With Mapletron stick? What the hell?
He did.
Go ahead. Etheria says, I saw that on Twitter with Joe Fan. He still got 49er juice in him after reporting on them for so long. I listened to his Seahawks podcast a couple times, and all he talked about was the 49ers. Because that makes sense when I was getting some of the vibe that I was getting off in this last week when he was getting up on a bit of a hide horse on Twitter about, let's go all these tough questions.
Mm-hmm. You got Lars with the $5 dono. He said, "Keep it up.
Lars, keep up the $5 donation, man.
Keep up the work." It looked like with the man lifting the weights.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Lars. We appreciate you, man. Randall says, when my wife was pregnant, I tried everything I had to name our son Russell. It didn't end out well. That's a good name. I'd probably be doing the same thing if I had a kid. Fun fact, D-Max already talked his woman into naming it. Russell Wynn is going to be his kid's name. Little known fact on that. But
that is
actually
true.
Russell Wynn, just because of how much he appreciates him. Tanis, go Hawks. Welcome on in the chat, Tanis.
Welcome.
I guess I should go Hawks. We're just getting through the last of these comments, so we will be popping off here shortly. Get your last ones in. Randall says, I have a feeling we're going to get Carlos Dunlap. I can already picture him. At this point, I would take Carlos Dunlap and being a standing ovation over here. I'm watching guys go off the board, fly off the board. There's not much left. Okay, whatever. Just whatever you guys can bring in at this point. Anything at this point. Just anything.
Beggars can't be choosers at this point, man. Deadline's coming up.
Any port in a storm. XZ Dubstep. I think Snacks was a bad signing. Feels like the Eddie Lacy all over again. I don't think that's going to be a big of a problem. Being a fat one tech is not as much a problem as being a fat running back. Those are two different things, and one is acceptable. The other one is not under any circumstances pretty much ever acceptable unless your name is Jerome Bettis
or Eddie Lacy.
Or Eddie, even once he got super thick, he couldn't do it anymore. It's like those are basically the only two fat backs I can think of in league. I mean, can you think of Cameron Ironhead Hayward? Well, he was but he's more almost kind of fullback at times. That's it. Most of those guys got to be svelte, but he's a big one tech. He needs to take up space. Him being a little bit fat, that's a little more space he's taking up. That's how I look at it on that. But I think it'll be an okay signing on that one. Lars asks, they played Chicago and Tom Brady didn't even shake Nick Foles' hand. No respect. Yeah, that was a little cold by Tom. And he didn't shake in the Super Bowl either, as I understand.
They were saying it's because of COVID. He didn't want to come in proximity to anybody. I don't know.
You come over and the guys do their hold on to the jersey thing and they go, good game. They all do that though. They all at the end of the game, those two quarterbacks at least come together and say, hey, what's up? And they go the other way. But I guess Tom is in the danger zone because of his age.
Yeah, he's definitely
he is in that he
in
could
that
die from
bracket
it if
if
he gets it. So
Yeah.
that part is, I mean, that's legit. Cameron says, I've been mostly looking at guys in the mid to late round since we don't have a first and late second. I'm going to do the same this year, Cameron. It's going to be a lot of just looking at guys into that mid round range. There's no real reason to start scouting out guys early. I don't think we don't even have a first round pick next year to jump into this draft to get up into the first round on this one if we target a guy. So yeah, I think that's a solid strategy of taking a look at those guys. Seahawks Brasenio. What's up, man? Thank you for hopping in the chat. How you doing? Zeke Zamora, Dmack, he says, do you guys think we are going to make a push for a pass rusher?
I think we are. What's out there is slim, but I think we are.
I do too. I'm in the same boat, Zeke. I think there's got to be something happening somehow, some way. Somebody's going to get picked up here. I don't know who at this point. It's a complete guessing game. We've heard no smoke to this. We haven't heard any rumors to this. It's been complete dead silence. But I do think something's got to happen here. Guala, do you think we're the best team in the conference? I'm going to say yeah. I think we're a tougher team than the Packers. I think that stat, Dmack, that came out about Aaron Rodgers was a staggering one this last week, being that he actually has a losing record in games that he's behind, which you would think would be, well, yeah, that's just all quarterbacks. Like, no, Russell's not like that. Tom Brady's not like that. Patrick Mahomes isn't like that. Lamar Jackson isn't like that. I can go down a lot list of quarterbacks that aren't like that. And it does fall into that sort of front runner attitude that people like to place on Aaron. And that when things are going good and everything's all well and he's feeling great, but when there's some adversity and he's up against it, he kind of falls away. So they're the team that was maybe the one threat still for me there a little bit, but I think we're just better. I think Tampa Bay is going to be there, man. They're right there neck and neck with us, but I'll be a homer on this one, Gual, and I'll say, yeah. How about you, D-Mac?
I agree. You go as your quarterback goes. So, if he keeps a good attitude, they're in the thick of things. If he's like crying and pouting and hanging his head, his whole team is gonna hang his head. So
that's it. It's just the way it goes with it. He's a sore loser. Charles Harrison, how you doing? I think Ryan Kerrigan's coming to Seattle. What do you guys think? Charles, it's possible. The only thing I thought would be hesitant with Washington as far as trading any of their young pass rushers. Number one, Chase Young has a groin injury he's fighting through. Number two, they may feel like they're in that division. I know they haven't won a lot of games, but you're 3 games out of first place if you're the Washington football team at this point. So why not let it roll and see what happens? Other than that, if we brought him in, I'd feel good about it. I mentioned he's a lot like Carlos Dunlap, pretty much the same type of player to me as far as what you're bringing in, what you're going to get from them production-wise, but better than what we probably have right now. So I'm okay with it. All right. D-Mac, you got any other questions in here? We got the Toast. What's up, Toast? How you doing? Also, I heard rumor today Ryan Kerrigan might come. It's a possibility, Cordell. And again, Ryan would be an upgrade there. He'd give you something maybe over at the Leo end you could rush from here and there. Another rotational guy. Take some of the 90% snaps that we're seeing Benson Mayowa have to play and Jaron Reed play. Get another guy in there to kind of offset some of that, especially if Rasheem Green's got this injury that's going to last. He's okay. He's not going to blow your socks off. He's not going to blow anybody's dress up, but it'll get the job done, right? It's like a Honda Accord. It'll get you there. Now you're not in style, but it'll get you there.
All right, everybody. As we're closing up here, last remarks. You got
last
anything,
remarks.
Brandon?
I think we're just in for a close game this week, folks. Hang on there again. It's going to be strap in your seats, get the seatbelt in, have a drink, do what you need to do. But I expect another close game this week. I think we're in a good position. I said that the key on this season for me, folks, has been getting the first round bye, getting the first round home field advantage throughout the playoffs, whether you have fans in the stadium or not. I think it's a very big boon to have. It has proved that in the previous years, and I think it would prove that in this year. We'll see how this goes, but I'm feeling good, DMAC. Confidence is high. I'd love to see them make a few moves, but even if they don't, I still feel really good about this team and where we're at and where our trajectory is headed. How about you?
Same thing, man. I'm feeling a lot better after talking to the family about this game coming this weekend. I was kind of a little nervous, but like everybody made me all warm and fuzzy about the game again, and I feel a little bit more confident going in and just talking it over. Sometimes you just need to talk it over with the family, you know what I mean? Just to get the confidence back, the swagger. So
that's it. We got to get their vibe, man.
I appreciate everybody coming out, checking out the show and the channel. And like I said, please like and subscribe, and like keeping those comments going and just helping us out and challenge us every week. Iron sharpens iron. So good stuff, everybody.
Good stuff. And yes, and one more just note on that, please do, as he said, hit that like button and subscribe if you're not. And then do also please go to Dmack Talk Seahawks. It's his new channel here. We're going to be doing a lot of things in conjunction with each other on this channel as we move forward. You guys mentioned getting some folks here in the Zoom chat. We will work on putting our heads together on that. Other than that, I will be back on Sunday night after the game, post game. And then there's something else I'm forgetting, Dmack. What's the one thing I'm forgetting? It's